For decades, the US dollar has stood at the heart of the global financial system, a currency trusted in times of war, recession, and crisis. It has been a symbol of stability, a reliable store of value, and a universal medium of exchange. But what happens when that trust begins to unravel? Today, we explore a scenario no one wants to see, but one the markets are beginning to whisper about: a dollar crisis. In recent months, the dollar, long considered a safe haven, has been a source of growing anxiety. Since peaking in mid-January, the greenback has fallen more than 9% against a basket of major currencies. Nearly half of that decline has come since the start of April. At the same time, yields on 10 years US Treasuries have risen by 0.2 percentage points. Normally, higher yields makes US assets more attractive, but not this time. Investors are pulling their money out, not because returns are low, but because they are beginning to question whether America is still a safe place to park their capital. Rumors swirl that large foreign asset managers are quietly dumping dollar holdings. The confidence that has long underpinned American financial dominance is starting to crack. So, what's behind this sudden loss of faith? The answer lies in Washington: a reckless trade war, an unstable fiscal position, and the mounting doubts about whether the United States can still govern itself consistently. In just a few short years, President Donald Trump's administration has dismantled some of the core assumptions that made the dollar the world's reserve currency. Tariffs have multiplied by a factor of 10. Supply chains have been robbed. Inflation has climbed and the recession fears are mounting. Meanwhile, America's fiscal health has deteriorated dramatically. New debt now stands at roughly 100% of GDP. The budget deficit reached 7% of GDP last year, an astonishing figure for a country not in the middle of a war or depression. And it's about to get worse. Congress has approved a budget framework that could add another 5.8 trillion in deficits over the next decades. That's more than the combined total of Trump's first-term tax cut, COVID-era emergency spending, and the Biden administration's stimulus and infrastructure bills. If enacted, it would double the pace at which America's debt burden rises in the coming years. As confidence in America's fiscal discipline erodes, a risk premium is starting to build around US assets. Foreign investors who own about 8.5 trillion in US government debt, roughly a third of the total, are getting nervous. And here is the danger. More than half of that debt is held by private investors. These aren't governments that can be coaxed by diplomacy or threatened with tariff. America must refinance 9 trillion in debt over the next year. If demand weakens, borrowing costs could spike, and fast. A full-blown bond market crisis, once unthinkable, now feels disturbingly plausible. In that moment comes, what would policymakers do? In past crises, from the 2008 financial collapse to the COVID-19 pandemic, Congress acted swiftly to inject stimulus into the economy. But this time would be different. To restore market confidence, Washington won't be able to spend, it would need to cut. Deep cuts to entitlements, higher taxes, rapid, painful austerity. And with today's divided, competitive political climate, reaching consensus on such drastic measures would be near impossible. The markets might have to inflict a great deal of pain before politicians agree on a rescue plan. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve would face a brutal dilemma. It could step in and buy treasuries to stabilize the market, but doing so risks appearing to monetize the debt of a fiscally irresponsible government, a dangerous move when inflation remains elevated. Alternatively, the Fed could hold back, letting interest rate climb and the crisis deepen. An equally perilous choice. Could it strike the right balance between emergency intervention and monetary discipline? And if it refused to bail out the Trump administration's policies, would it still be allowed to support foreign central banks in a liquidity crunch, as it has done in the past global crisis? The consequence won't stop at America's borders, because here's the hard truth. The dollar has no true rival. The Eurozone doesn't produce enough safe assets. Switzerland is stable but far too small. Japan is a debtor nation itself. Gold and cryptocurrencies lack sovereign backing. As global investors scramble for safety, markets could swing wildly from one asset to another, triggering destabilizing booms and busts. The globalized economy built on the foundation of dollar stability could start to fracture. A currency is only as reliable as the government that stands behind it. And today, the world is watching as America floods with chaos, fiscal recklessness, and policy incoherence. If trust in the dollar breaks, it won't just be America that suffers. The aftershocks would reverberate through every corner of the global financial system. The dollar crisis remains a scenario for now, but the warning signs are growing too loud to ignore.